The New York Giants have already made 12 cuts, so for today's video, we're going to give you our entire 53-man roster projection. Let's get into it. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by as we reveal our 53-man roster projection for the New York Giants. Joe Schoen has until 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow to get down to that 53-man limit. So let's talk about it. Let's start, though, with the 12 cuts that were made yesterday. We did a video out on it on the channel from the crib. That's why you subscribe and have your notifications turned on. So not going to spend too much time on it. Just going to recap the names in case people have missed it. 5th-round pick, 2022, Marcus McKethan. He is cut as well as Matt Nelson and Kyler Baugh. Linebacker Trey Kaiser, who was signed a couple of days ago, he has been cut. Breon Borders, Christian Holmes, and Clayton Isbell have been cut as well. And here's the larger chunk of them. 2 UDFA wide receivers, John Giles, Ayer Asante, with Joshua Kelly and Lorenzo Lingard at the running back position being cut. Then Timothy Horn, he was waived with an injury designation as he tore his Achilles in that Jets preseason game. And then Jonathan Sutherland, the DB that was brought over from the Seattle Seahawks, he has been cut as well. At this current moment, the Giants have 77 players left on the roster. I went and counted. I think I'm okay at math unless there are letters added in there. So I think we're at 77 players, meaning 24 more cuts need to happen. So let's dive into it. I just want to set the stage with this. This is not my 53-man roster projection. This is me trying to project what Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll are going to do. So once we go through every single player, I'm going to end the video with things that I would have done differently if I was the GM, but I'm trying to take the seat of Joe Schoen and predict what he is going to do. I think the Giants will keep 3 quarterbacks, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito. There's been a lot of talk over the weekend following that Jets game about Tommy DeVito being cut. I'm kind of indifferent on it. I don't mind 3 quarterbacks being kept, especially with the rule that was added last year where you could promote a player every single week from the practice squad at the quarterback position. That is no longer a thing. So new rule there. It's going to have a lot of teams keep 3 quarterbacks, and I think the Giants, they will do that. Let's talk about the running back and fullback position. I think the Giants are going to keep 3 running backs with a fullback in Jakob Johnson. That means Devin Singletary, Tyrone Tracy, and Eric Gray are in, with Jakob Johnson at the fullback position in. That means that Dante Turbo Miller did not make the 53-man roster. I have heard that he is most likely not going to make it. He will be a priority player to keep on the practice squad. I'll share my thoughts on Turbo later on in the video. I have the Giants keeping 6 wide receivers. Some beat reporters have them keeping 7. I think they will keep 6 with Malik Nabers, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Jalin Hyatt as the 4 wide receivers on this team, with Miles Boykin and Gunnar Olszewski occupying those last 2 spots because of what they can do in the special teams department. No Isaiah Hodgins, no Allen Robinson. This is what I have been told is most likely, so I am going to go with this. We'll talk about Hodgins and Robinson later. Let's talk about the offensive line. I have the Giants keeping 9 of them in my prediction, with Andrew Thomas, John Runyon, John Michael Schmitz, Greg Van Roten, and Jermaine Illuminor being the 5 guys up front week in and week out, with Aaron Stinney, Joshua Azudu, Jake Kubis, and Evan Neal as the 4 backup offensive linemen. 9 offensive linemen in total kept. I have Kubis, the UDFA, making the team. He's impressed a lot. He has some fans inside the building. It really came down to him or Austin Schlottman. I have the Giants continuing the youth movement and prioritizing the rookie over the veteran Schlottman, who did not play all that well in the preseason. Just 3 tight ends kept on the initial 53-man roster, in my opinion. It'll be Daniel Bellinger, Theo Johnson, and Chris Manhertz. I feel bad because Lawrence Cager had a great camp. Brian Daboll sung the praises of him about how much he improved this offseason. But unfortunately, injuries continue to stack up, and he may be a guy that they look to occupy on that practice squad. But Jack Stoll does not make the team as he was brought over in free agency from the Philadelphia Eagles. Bellinger, Johnson, and Manhertz round out the tight end group. And I have 25 players sticking on offense, which means I'm going to have 25 players on defense with 3 special teamers. Coming up next, my roster projection for the defense, and then I'll tell you the moves that I would have made if I was the GM inside of the moves that I think Joe Schoen is going to make. But first, I got to let you guys know about our proud sponsor here at Giants Now by Chat Sports, and that is Game Time. If you're looking to buy tickets, maybe to the Giants Week 1 game, or you want to go to a Mets game or a Yankees game before the summer is over, get your tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. What time is it? It's Game Time, the app where you get last-minute tickets and flash deals. You get views from the seat inside the app when you're debating on which tickets to buy. And yeah, Game Time. The reason they're my favorite app is because you get the lowest price guaranteed. Check them out. I really love all the features that they have. I've used all the apps out there that sell tickets. There's a reason that I only use Game Time, and it's because of that all-in pricing feature. Nobody likes to go through buying tickets on an app, and it says you got to pay 4 tickets for $100, and you get to check out, and you have to add another $150 in hidden fees. None of that nonsense with Game Time. Game Time takes care of their customers. They make sure they get the best deals, guaranteed. So download the app, create an account, and use that promo code CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. Go get some tickets for the Giants this year. Go get some early in the season, maybe game 1 or game 2, as they are somewhat winnable games against the Vikings and the Commanders. Support the show. Support the sponsor. Be a real one. Download the app. Use the promo code CHATSPORTS. $20 off your first purchase. All righty, let's talk about the big boys in the trenches on the defensive line. No surprises here. Dexter Lawrence, Rakeem Nunez-Roches, Jordan Riley, Elijah Chapman, and DJ Davidson. Love seeing Elijah Chapman make this team, man. Not your prototypical UDFA, a guy that wasn't claimed until a couple of weeks. He wasn't even claimed at all by the New York Giants. They invited him to rookie minicamp. He impressed, and he left with a contract. He didn't even have to play in the final preseason game. He is the UDFA darling of this class for Joe Schoen. Credit to him, the entire New York Giants scouting department. They deserve kudos for that move. You look at the edge department now that I have the Giants keeping. I haven't given 5. And our guy, Benton Whitley, he impressed me enough through the preseason for him to make it. I think he's going to make it, but I had to put him on there, even though this isn't necessarily my projection. It is what I think the Giants are going to do. Burns, Thibodeau, Ojulari, Boogie Basham, and Benton Whitley, 5 players at the edge rusher department that the Giants are keeping. I also have them keeping 5 inside linebackers. Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden, Darius Muasau, Matthew Adams, and Deontay Johnson. That means that there's a couple of players that did not make this team, and I'm hoping that the Giants are able to get some of them back on the practice squad. Most notably, KJ Cloyd had an amazing game against the Jets, 16 tackles. Not sure a week 3 performance in the preseason was enough, though, to get him on this team. I'm sure he'll be a priority practice squad player for the Giants, meaning guys like Darian Beavers has been cut. Carter Coughlin has been cut. I went back and forth between Coughlin and Deontay Johnson. I know Coughlin is a veteran and more of a special teams specialist, but I've kept enough special teams players at this point, and I loved what I saw from Johnson early on. Is dealing with an injury. I think he'll be ready to go, though, sooner rather than later. At the DB spot, really the corner position, 5 guys being kept as well. Deontay Banks, Nick McLeod, the rookie Andrew Phillips, Trey Hawkins, and Cordell Flott. That means Trey Herndon is gone, a player that a lot of people thought was going to make this team when he was signed by the Giants following their OTAs earlier this offseason. That means players like Mario Goodrich is going to be cut. Darnay Holmes, once a Giant, always a Giant. Maybe he may only be a Giant, but Darnay Holmes, he ended up playing a lot in that fourth quarter in the final preseason game, and that usually does not bode well if you're trying to make this team. This will not be the corner depth chart, though, when you start this season. The safety spot, I feel pretty confident that these are going to be the 5 guys that make it. Maybe they go with the UDFA Alex Johnson out of UCLA over Javarius Owens. I think Owens brings you a little bit more spark on the special teams side of the rock. He's paired with Pinnock, Newbin, Belton, and Isaiah Simmons. I'm going to call Simmons a safety at this point because he's going to play all over the field. Nickel, safety, and in the box. We'll round it out with the special teamers. Shout out to the real ones. Casey Kreider, Graham Gano, and Jamie Gillen are going to be your 3 special team specialists that make this team. Grade the Giants' 53-man roster for me. I think this is pretty close. Maybe there's a couple of things that they change. I don't know. What do you think? How good is this football team? Get out your red pen. Let me know A, B, C, D, or F. Alrighty, moves that Marshall would make as the general manager. I'd cut Tommy DeVito. Look, I thought he was not very good in the preseason. I think that they could keep a player on this roster that's going to play every single week. And I think that there's probably not a high chance that another team would claim him. I think you'd be able to bring him back on the practice squad. Some of the things that we saw in the preseason were the same things that we saw him struggle at last year. Running into sacks, the pocket mobility, the lack of arm strength. Look, he's an awesome story. He's a competitor. I got all the respect in the world for DeVito. But I'd rather keep somebody like maybe Dante Miller on the running back depth chart over cutting a guy, over keeping DeVito. I would have kept Miller. I would have. I have been impressed all offseason long with him. He provides a skill set at the running back position that you don't necessarily have. His top end speed is awesome. He can go the distance. And I thought he ran hard. And I thought that he really picked up a lot of yards after contact, was impressed in the Jets game, fell in love with him after that Lions game. I'm sure the Giants will try to keep him back on the practice squad. But who knows? Anything can get dicey out there when you hit the waiver wire. I would have also cut Miles Boykin. I know that all the beat reporters out there are saying that the Giants are going to keep him, which probably means they are. But man, he's your fifth receiver on the roster. What happens if someone goes down? We're putting Miles Boykin out there for serious reps at the wideout position. I can't get down with that. Give me Jalin Robinson. I thought he impressed in training camp, created separation, had 3 big plays in the preseason, caught 2 first downs. He had that end around against the Jets. He looked like he was moving. The legs looked fresh. I was impressed with Robinson. I think he might be the best route runner on this team. He's a veteran. He's really your only outside receiver threat that can also play in the slot. I would have kept him, but that's just me on that. Also, at the receiver spot, I had Gunnar Olszewski in over Isaiah McKenzie. The reason being, I have heard Gunnar Olszewski is going to be ready for week 1, and McKenzie, he dropped 2 punts. And if you're not going to catch the football at the punt returner spot, and you're supposed to be a return specialist, you probably should not make this team. That's my 53-man roster projection. If you want to yell at me at Twitter because you were upset about it, or you're still upset that I said John Michael Schmitz is a bust, hit me up on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_ and IG. Same handle. So do it. Be a real one. Let's go Big Blue.